Thank you for tuning into the animated review. Today, we are going to be doing an analysis of The New Norm versus Mr. Bertram. King of the Hill is the golden standard for conservative cartoons.
That boy ain't right.
But these new conservative cartoons are worth looking at. And we are going to compare them by how funny they are, how sympathetic the characters are, the development of the cartoon overall, and the conflicts within the cartoon or the stakes within the cartoon. And we'll see if the new norm or Mr. Bertram is the better cartoon. Mr. Bertram and the new norm are some fairly new conservative cartoons. The difference between the new norm and Mr. Bertram is that the new norm doesn't have a sympathetic character versus Mr. Bertram.
I'm the old Norm. I want normal beer.
Warning, warning, perimeter reached.
Ugh. It's your fault I got house arrest.
You're the one who threatened the school board.
I gently suggested
Yelled.
they stop brainwashing my daughter that girls aren't girls and men aren't men.
Sometimes they're neither, or both, or furry and dressed like dogs.
Ow! Janice,
On the new norm, the stakes don't seem terribly high. We learn on the pilot episode that he's into it with the school board because he says they're convincing boys that they are girls and convincing girls that they are boys, and he doesn't want them to do that to his daughter. And so his very first complaint, or one of his very first complaints, because he complains throughout the entire pilot episode, but one of his first complaints is about gender or gender identity. And we've heard enough of this. I'm not sure that we want to see it in or hear it from a cartoon. And then it makes it very corny. It's not like he's saying anything new or interesting or making an intellectual observation or making a funny observation at the very least, because that's what we're here for. We're here for the comedy. And it's not even like he's giving us that. But Mr. Bertram does different.
It's a wonderful day seeing all your smiling faces in the woodshop.
Necesito ayuda, señor.
Vale, mi amigo.
Yo, Mr. Bertram, can I make a shank?
Yes, indeed. Call me Richard.
Pete!
In the new norm, we see just an old man who sits on a couch, drinks beer, and complains about the direction in which the world is traveling. And Mr. Bertram, we see a hardworking man who has an interesting career as a workshop teacher. And so he has a do something job that requires him to do something with his hands. And he's a sympathetic character, almost to the level of Hank Hill on King of the Hill. As I said, King of the Hill is the golden standard for what a conservative cartoon should strive to be.
That boy ain't right.
ow! Janice,
And Mr. Bertram is more reminiscent of a terrible, corny 1990s sitcom with the laugh track in the background. It's unbearable. And I don't know why they thought it was a good idea to put the laugh track in. It was probably to be ironic or sarcastic, maybe. I don't know. But the effect of it is actually lost because they use it so much. It's so prominent and dominant throughout the show. It is part of the show's fabric, identity, literally, and it is a terrible addition to the show. On the other hand, Bertram has comedy, dancing, music, ironic scenes, and a questionable main character who may be a little bit sus. And that is what makes a show comedic. Now, we can argue about if Bertram meets any of the comedic demands that you like in particular, but on a level of technique, it does what a show is supposed to do. Even if it does it in a way that we don't necessarily like overall, I see a lot of bad reviews for Bertram, but I have to admit, it has some funny scenes in it. And the main character, Bertram himself, he is very sympathetic. We know what he's going through. We see his struggles. And so on a scale of 1 to 10, I would definitely give Bertram between a 6 and an 8. It depends on the episode at this point. But with the new norm, I don't have anything to give it really because it's not giving me anything to work with. On a scale of 1 to 10, I will probably give it a 4 out of 10. And the 4 comes just for effort, but it does poorly with the character development. It's not as funny. He doesn't present as a sympathetic character. And then the conflicts, he doesn't conflict with anybody really, other than this ideal that he set up in his own mind. And he wants to take the world back to where he was when he was growing up. But anyway, that's just my analysis, my opinion. Go ahead and tell me what you think. Leave it in the comments. I just gave you my 2 cents. I want to hear yours. But also make sure you press that subscribe button. And as always, thank you for tuning in to The Animated Review.
The new norm ain't the same as the old norm.